Hey guys, welcome to another episode on the Wholehearted Healing with Jo podcast. We are going to be talking today about rest and why it's important for your life, just in general, your health, your creation, your manifestation, like all those types of things. Like really, rest is a vital importance of just what we need. And so I don't actually know what this is going to be titled, so it's kind of a more general explanation of what I want to talk about today, because I think I just need to kind of get it out before I can kind of give it a title. But it's really just going to be about rest and truly why it is important. And we're going to talk about signs that you might need some rest and ways that you can implement rest in your life as well, other than also just like why it's so important. And so what kind of inspired this, and sorry if you can hear noises, there's people in my house and there's my computer's going off. But I actually had a client last week who just kind of what we talked about in our session really kind of inspired me to, talk about this, because I think it's such an influential piece to healing, and it's not necessarily talked about, as well as, how to implement rest. People think like rest means you don't do anything and you don't work hard, which is totally a lie. And taking a break from healing, I'm also going to talk about that. So like resting from healing, which was more specifically kind of what my client and I were discussing. So that's kind of what we're going to dive into today. I do want to kind of do some housekeeping things. For those of you who joined the webinar that I did back a couple weeks ago on February 20th, if you watched that or watched the replay, I did send the replay out to those who had signed up. So if you've watched that, feel free to, respond back to the email or reach out to me on Instagram. With what you thought, your kind of thoughts, your opinions, what you felt, what you feel called to share, basically. I would love to kind of know your feedback and your input on what you kind of gained out of that. And then as well, there are a couple spots with the Mindful Woman program that it's my 12-week program. There's a couple spots still open for that. So if you are looking to heal any sort of like your long-term symptoms, just really kind of like navigate your health in a way that's much different than what you've maybe done before, or you just need that support. Like you could be somebody who is already, on your health journey, but you're still struggling with some things, or you could just feel like really stuck and just not clear and not really getting answers from other avenues. So if that's you, feel free to reach out to me again on Instagram, or you can go to my website, jopaddolino.com. All of this information will be kind of down in the show notes, so you guys can check that out there. For those of you who don't follow me on Instagram, my Instagram handle is at johanna.paddolino, and so you can find me there. So let's kind of dive into this. So rest is a huge piece, and if you've been following me for a while on my Instagram, I've talked about this for a really long time, and this has been a huge piece that's shown up in my life. I am definitely a person who burns out, right? I wouldn't say I necessarily like chase things in my life, but I am definitely ambitious, but I'm more of that like person who I almost just feel like I always need to be putting effort in, and I'm actually facing a little bit of this in my life as I'm working through my own healing journey. This has been something that's been coming up for me in different ways. I have definitely dialed back on the things that I do or force myself to do. I've gotten better at like, even just because I put it on my to-do list today doesn't mean I have to get it done. Like I have tried to be more gentle with myself in some of those, things. So, but for me, it's showing up. It's still the same principle, but it's still showing up in other areas of my life. And so, I've really kind of been navigating this myself, and I see this as, especially with women, right? Like we do so many things. A lot of us, right? We're working, we're looking after kids, we have partners, we're building businesses, we're doing all these like external things, and then it's just like that we neglect ourselves in the process of a lot of that. And I think it's a very ancestral cultural thing that we've kind of been taught, or like has been kind of ingrained in us a little bit, right? And again, there's nothing wrong with obviously, doing things and working hard, but we don't have to push ourselves to the brink of exhaustion or disease, or again, just like we don't have to push ourselves to the point of feeling like, I'm so burnt out the next day or the next week or the next month. Obviously, you're gonna have seasons of things, but when we're doing this all the time, it really it just doesn't really, it doesn't set us up for success. Let's just put it that way. And so I was talking to a client last week, and she very specifically was talking about taking a break from healing. And I thought this was really an interesting topic. And she said, like, I'm doing all these things. She has like some health stuff going on that she's been trying to figure out with doctors, but also as well, just like her naturopath and these sorts of things. And she was just like, her doctor had made the comment to her, like, maybe you should just take a break from everything. Like, just take a break from your supplements, take a break from, like, give your system and your body a break. And it was interesting because what she had like said to me, I think it had been like a week or so, she had kind of just like stopped her supplements and stuff. And, she said it was so nice to just be able to wake up and like not have to like worry about what supplement I'm taking. Is it working? Is it not working? Right? Like, she was being stressed out by her healing journey. And I see this a lot, like people almost like overwhelmed with the process of health and healing, that it's actually like the effort that you're putting into healing is actually making things worse for yourself. So it's like counterintuitive, right? Like, we're trying to be good. We're trying to be good humans, right? We're trying to be good people and like do what's right for ourselves and blah, 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 blah. And, in that we get caught in this trap of like doing, and we never are just being, right? And there's a lot to be said for just being present in your life and not having these expectations or having these goals or having these like, I have to, kind of topics or things that you need to do, like removing that stress, removing that expectation from ourselves, especially when we're healing, right? And it's giving ourselves that grace, that compassion, and that love to know what you need at certain times of your journey. So for me, I was, and I still am, this very ambitious person. I have a lot of goals, a lot of dreams, a lot of things I want to do, a lot of things I want to create. But I've started to realize like, okay, there's things that come in waves or come in seasons. I can't do it all right now. I'm one person, right? And I think the same thing is for our health. Like, we always try to like fix our diet, work out every day, do all the business things, look after our family. We try to do it all at once, and it's just like it becomes overload, right? So sometimes we have to kind of like build ourselves up to these things instead of trying to do it all at once if we're implementing new things. But other times we just need to like sometimes take a break, right? Like my client, like she was taking a break from the things that she's doing. It doesn't mean she's falling off. It doesn't mean that she's not going to heal or not going to find the answers. She's just taking a pause, right? And that pause can be so influential because it can give you, clarity on, again, what's working, what's not working, how you truly feel, what direction you really feel is actually helping you in your journey, right? Because a lot of people in health, especially, they're taking the supplements, they're seeing 7 people for treatment and therapy, and they're also seeing their doctor, and they're getting all these tests done, and they're, trying to implement like healthy eating habits and working out. And like, there's just all of these things that it can become overwhelming. And so if you're feeling overwhelmed with your health and your health journey, I would encourage you to, one, reflect on that. Like, why are you feeling that way? Why does it feel like a chore all of a sudden? And it's not that. Healing can definitely feel challenging to get yourself going, for sure, right? Because it's usually kind of stepping us out of our comfort zone. But if you've been doing this for a while and it's like it's lost its zest, it's lost its spark, you might be kind of burning the candle at both ends here. And so some signs that you need to rest is obviously this like overwhelm feeling, right? Just feeling overwhelmed with the process, life in general, like your healing might just be another thing to add to the list on top of all the other shit that you have to do, right? And so again, it's like prioritizing certain things. Feeling kind of burnt out, right? Dreading things in life, especially the things that you would normally get excited to do. And then that time comes to go do that thing and you're like, oh, fuck, like another thing I have to go do, right? Meanwhile, you would normally love to go to this, right? When you first signed up for it, you were so excited. And now it's coming up and you're dreading it because you're just like, I could use a break, right? So you're tired, you're fatigued, you're burnt out, right? The other thing I would say too, that if you have a lot of symptoms happening, making sure that you're implementing rest is going to be key, because if you have a lot of symptoms, like physical symptoms, whether it's from disease or just like random ones that are popping up, your body is already in this like fight or flight stress mode. And so rest is going to be crucial. And it's not just sleep. It's not just like, oh, I took a break today, or, I didn't have to work today, so I had a day off, so it was a rest day. It's like, that's not, that's very surface level. Like, sure, we want to start there. But there's a lot of different ways that you can implement rest. And so, yeah, I just feel like if you're getting to that point, it's important to take a pause, reflect. Why are you in this situation to begin with? Why are you feeling the way you're feeling? And I actually talked about this on my stories today on my Instagram about, again, what I'm kind of going through is like learning, okay, what emotion am I missing? Like, why do I feel burnt out? Do I genuinely just need to like sleep? Or am I missing something emotionally? Am I not gaining something emotionally from my experience or like the way I'm living my life? And so looking at the emotion of like, what do I need right now, right? Do I need safety? Do I need peace? Do I need rest? Do I need, more abundance in my life? Do I need more, vitality or energy? Or do I need more creativity, right? Like there's so many different like emotions we can have. And the way that you can like implement rest or even just calm your nervous system, to come out of that negative feeling that you're feeling, is to think, okay, well, how can I give myself more of what I need? So if you need more safety in your life, how can you create more safety for yourself, right? Maybe it's getting into your body and moving your body and stretching, right? Maybe it's putting on music that you enjoy, right? Maybe it's giving yourself a hug, right? Like, how are these things, maybe it's having a bubble bath. Maybe it's like, how can you give yourself the feeling that you are craving, right? And how can you give yourself the rest that you need? And so rest is super important, because not only is it affecting your like physical health, but it's affecting the health of your entire life, right? Your quality of life. And I want to actually do an episode on this, and depending on kind of where you know me from, this might be a topic you're maybe not expecting me to do, but I wanted to do a podcast on manifesting and how that comes into our nervous system and our emotions, right? So no matter what you're trying to manifest, whether it's money or a relationship or a new home or new friends or an experience or business, expansion or things for your health, like whatever it is, right? Whatever aspect of your life that you're trying to manifest things on, how that comes into just regulation, basically. And so all these things, like I said, are intertwined. And I, if you listen to the first episode of this podcast, I talk about, the mind, body, and the soul, the mental, the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual aspects of health, right? And they're so crucial. And I think people think that their health and their money and their job and their career and their house and their family life, they're all separate, and they're not. They are 100% all the same things. So when you're struggling to give yourself rest from a physical perspective, it's going to bleed into all these other areas, right? You look at people who are like stressed out, probably need rest, right? And they come home and they're snapping on their kids, or they're snapping at their partner, or they're just, you know what I mean? Like there's this emotional, like they don't have the capacity. They're past that point, right? That is cue for someone needing rest, right? Something needs to change in their life. And rest is the first piece to start. I would say lifestyle changes and those bigger things are also things that need to be looked at, but those are kind of like down the line because we can't just change those things right away. But rest is one of the kind of simple ways that things that we can do daily to kind of like re-regulate ourselves, so we're not so like hot and cold in just our emotions and our nervous system, and also just these extremes of our physical feelings and our physical sensations and symptoms that we're experiencing. So ways that you can implement rest, and I probably touched on a lot of these in the nervous system episode, but getting out in nature is huge. I don't know if you guys have ever like just sat outside and how much it can change just the way you feel, right? Especially if it's a beautiful sunny day, or if it's even just the weather you enjoy. Like some people love rain and thunderstorms and that sort of thing. So getting out of nature is going to be huge, right? It's natural, you know, it's real, right? The other thing is sleep. So getting enough sleep, maybe taking a nap if you need it, right? On a weekend, whatever. But also making sure that you're getting like proper sleep, right? Getting the right amount of hours, but also making sure it's not broken and, you're not waking up, or, that sort of thing. Like just trying to get your sleep quality as best as you can. Nourishing your body through food and movement, just fueling yourself well is going to be super important for rest, because it's actually going to take some of the stress off of the body, right? When we're dehydrated, it's obviously a lot of stress on the body, and when we're eating foods that are, not good for us, just think of how your gut feels, right? When you don't eat foods that are necessarily the best for you, it usually sends your gut kind of wonky, right? And so all that is, again, like more work for the body. It's more stress for the body. The other thing is like soul nourishing activities. So for me, this really is looking at like, music, creative things, right? Arts and crafts and that sort of thing, reading. What are things that are kind of more creative or gentle, right? Rest is a very like feminine, energy, we'll call it. The going and the doing, and like I talked about this in the nervous system, is that masculine. And so just think of it even that way. Like what are more kind of like softer, more feminine things that you can kind of do? And that's why that creativity piece comes into that. So being around supportive people who are calming to be around, and this doesn't mean just hanging out with family, but this is also being around people who you can like genuinely be yourself with, right? People who aren't stressful for you or aren't going to, send your anxiety through the roof. And on the flip side, maybe it's not people. Maybe you need to be alone. I'm very much like an alone person when I implement my rest. I need to kind of be by myself. I need to be able to just do the things I want to do without other people interrupting me and bothering me. And so I find like the alone time is really supportive for myself. And so it's creating boundaries in your life as well, so that you can, do these sorts of things. So, those are some ways that you can implement rest. There's like 1,000 ways that you can implement rest, right? You can take a social media detox. You can do all kinds of things. You can say no to like an activity or an event, right? But there's so many ways, and it's so important that we utilize these things, because again, going back to what I said about women, like a lot of us overextend ourselves for other people, and we don't give ourselves the love that we need and that we're craving. And I think it starts with ourselves, and then other people will also show up for that. But there's, being able to start to give yourself that time and that space is huge. And I think women are very kind of burnt out. A lot of women are kind of going against their natural energy levels and their natural energy flows, especially when we look at our cycles and all of that kind of stuff, right? You know, certain times of the month we have more or less energy. And yeah, it's a massive piece that I feel like a lot of women are missing, right? You can be doing all the right things, you know, all the right supplements, all the right workouts and all the right whatever, but it's like if you're not giving yourself space and time to rest and refuel your soul, you're going to still come up against a lot of blocks when it comes to healing or feeling like you're making progress, right? Especially if you're plateauing in any sort of way. More is not always better, right? More can be very overwhelming, can be very overstimulating for us, and it can be very just chaotic, right? It can just be too much, right? It can be too much of a good thing. And again, the intention is there. The intention is right, but it's like asking yourself why you feel you need to do all of these things, like why we need to be perfect or why we need to do more, right? And then if you're not doing the things that you want to be doing for your health that would make a difference, right? Like working out or eating better, looking at those emotions too, like why you might be more on like the burnt out side where you're just like in freeze mode, right? Where you're like, I don't want to do that right now. Like, I just want to sit here and veg out and I just want to be on my phone, or I just want to like eat the shitty food or whatever. And like, that is a normal thing too, from a nervous system perspective. That's just a different state. But it's like, why are you in that to begin with? Is there an emotional thing? Is there fear? Is there stress? Is there anxiety? And then again, same thing. How can we give ourselves what we need? How can we soothe our system to help get us to take those actions to move forward? And I think that's the important part too, is like, you have to have the rest and to create the energy to take action, right? At some point, if you're not resting, you're going to be forced to rest, right? And so, because you just literally can't take action anymore. And so I think that a lot of people face this with their health, right? They get a diagnosis, they get bad news about something, or they like all of a sudden have all these symptoms and they don't know where they came from. And it's like, how many times I have clients come in and I'm just like, you are like burnt and stressed the hell out, because they just come in and they're like a whirlwind of energy, right? And it's just like, woo, like, okay, let's just like slow down, take a breath, like talk a little slower, right? There's just so much, again, that busyness. So, and again, even taking a break from healing, again, that's that, like if you're doing too much, some people are doing too much, and it sounds counterintuitive, but sometimes you have to slow down to speed up, right? And rest is 100% that. It's refueling you. Your car can't keep going with one tank of gas just because you tell it to, right? You can't just like keep trying to turn the car on and go, come on, I'm turning the ignition, right? But if there's no gas, there's no gas. You're not going anywhere, right? So we have to take those stops to refuel and recharge. And again, it affects all aspects of your life. It might seem very health related to you at first, but as you start implementing rest, you'll realize how much it influences all the other aspects of your life. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to kind of talk about today. I'd be interested if you're like watching this or listening to this, I should say, on YouTube, kind of what your thoughts are, because there is a comment section there. Again, you can feel free to reach out to me on Instagram and stuff as well. I love hearing what you guys are thinking and gaining from these podcast episodes. And I'm kind of obviously playing around with what people like and what they don't like. If you have any ideas or topics that you want me to kind of talk about, maybe more specific, or just more generalized topics when it comes to healing things, definitely, again, reach out to me, comment it down below if you can. And yeah, it's I think I'm going to, there's a few ideas of topics I have like coming up. So this one I just was in the forefront because I did have a client specifically dealing with this last week, and I just, again, it was an interesting approach because hers was from the other perspective of like doing a lot but needing to kind of pull back, right? And she just, that relief she felt from giving herself that permission to pull back, and really someone else giving her the permission that she can do that, and it'll be fine, right? So yeah, that is what I pretty much have for today. Again, the Mindful Woman program is open. There are some spots still available. So if you're interested in that and you're looking at healing and doing some deeper work, and wanting that support and that guidance for 12 weeks, then definitely reach out to me. Otherwise, I do have some ideas of things coming in the future. So March is going to be an interesting month. We'll see what I can get up to. But I am excited to just share all my thoughts and ideas and things with you. So again, thank you guys so much for listening. I love this format of content because I can just kind of fully express myself and just kind of show up, and just, yeah, express my thoughts, and hopefully they're landing and they're resonating with you. So again, thank you so much for listening. All the information will be in the show notes. If you have any questions, reach out to me on Instagram. But yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful day or evening or whenever you're kind of listening to this, and I will see you guys or be with you guys in the next one. Bye.